Okay, buddy, you're standing on my rock. Wilder, you need to move. You need to move. I want to show. Yeah. Well, look what I found. It's a heart-shaped hole. Isn't that kind of cool? So last night, while I was making dinner, I was frying up some bacon, and I went to stir it around, and it went pop, and it exploded, and the grease flew out of the pan and hit me all over the face. I realized I've got one blister there, and right at there too. We'll hide that. There. Now you can't see it, or many of the other wrinkles either. Aren't they pretty? I can't hold my arm still. Sorry. But they're so pretty I had to share. You ready for this? I ran around the corner and look what I found. Oh, the mushroom. It's so cool. Isn't it great? I love it. What a nice surprise. I guess he likes it too. Oh, it's a day for mushrooms. Whoa, Wilder. You're in my face. Okay, back up. I want to get a picture of this little tiny mushroom. Oh, move. Move, Wilder. Good boy. Look at that. I don't know if it'll focus on it because it's white and my camera. There we go. Oh, except I'm moving all over the place. That was fun. Another mushroom. Okay, so I'm listening to this audiobook. I don't remember the name anyway. It's a story about a young girl. I'm sure there's more to it, but this is as far as I've made it through it, who was severely burned when she was 3 years old. She was cooking hot dogs on the stove and the water got her. She was in the hospital for some time. Here's the part that stood out to me. When she got out of the hospital, or her parents took her out of the hospital, she didn't shy away from flames. She was hungry and she went right back to making hot dogs herself, 3 years old. Must have been a highly intelligent child, actually the author of the story, but she was reading when she was 3, so she seemed more aware than most 3-year-olds. The thing that stuck with me was that she went right back to the fires. In fact, she became obsessed with them, it sounds like, and that's as far as I got. Because this reminds me of my son. When my son Dale was maybe 5, we were on a camping trip in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and we had a fire pit. We were actually camping with Dutch's siblings and their children, and they had a main fire, and then we had our own fire at our camp because I still had little kids and I wanted to get them to bed. So I had to stay at our camp. Anyway, long story short, I was there with the kids. I went into my tent. I had the door open. I just walked away from the fire. I mean, this was not even, 10 feet away. I could see what was going on, and my 3 older boys were just there roasting marshmallows or whatever. And my son, he tripped. I'm sorry, the dog is taunting the geese down there. He tripped, he fell into the fire. That was the scariest night ever. We're in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. Oh, that was so scary, you fall in, you land, you get out right away. He was out. I'm yelling for my husband. I'm like, we have nothing here. We're way, way too far from any kind of hospital, praying that the burns aren't bad. And I remembered I had a jug with ice water in our van, and I ran and grabbed that jug. And so what had happened is he put his arm out as he went to fall, and he landed. So his hand landed on the grate. They had a grate there for, cooking food on it. So that hot metal, his hand landed on it. And so his fingers, we stuck his whole hand in the ice water. And we're like, let's look at this. And Oh, and it wasn't long, and he's like, he was okay. It was late at night, and we kept it in there for a long time, and we bandaged it up because we want to keep the air away from the burns. And so the next morning, and he seemed fine. We're looking at it, and you could see the red burns, like on my face, like I got last night. And we asked, "Are you burned? Are you hurt anywhere else?" "No, just my hand, my hand." He kept saying just his hand. And we're looking at him and checking him, and it was just his hand was getting red. Well, in the morning, he woke up and he had blisters between his fingers, so it was a pretty bad burn, and on his hand and the palm of his hand. But what we didn't see was that he had this long line up his arm, and I can't show you because I'm holding the camera here and trying to tell the story. Anyway, and so he had this long line. It was just skinny blistered, so he must have landed on, his arm must have touched that too. But he said nothing hurt. He said he was fine. And the next morning, what was he doing? He was right back at that fire, poking at the coals to get a fire going. So that's what the story reminded me of my son Dale and the fire. And every time I drive past that campground, it's in a national forest. I drove past it the other day when I was on my trip. I see the sign to that campground, and I think of him. He loved fire. That wasn't his last episode with fire. No. You're all wet. Whoa! Not crazy fire boy. He just learned how to deal with fire. Okay, there was another time when he stayed home when we went on our annual trip to our family reunion, and he was a young adult, and he had a bunch of friends over. He must have been at least 18. Somebody had a lighter, and they emptied that fuel into the trash can, and they threw a match in there, and it went poof. I only heard about this story years later. The flames came up and singed his eyebrows and his eyelashes. Hey, Wilder! He is taunting those geese now. Look at that. Come on, boy! He's not so much, he's afraid of them because they bite really hard. They're like, we've had enough of him. Poor geese. Oh, he's biting me.